Hello, welcome to EverydayHDR.com. My name is Blake Rudis, and today I want to talk about my three biggest pet peeves during the HDR tone mapping process that you specifically see in Photomatics. Now, I used to rack my brain trying to fix these three things in Photomatics specifically, but what I realized was wasting so much time with sliders, moving this, that, here, and there. And then I realized I can fix it in Photoshop, and I can fix it in Photoshop pretty easily. So I'm going to go over those three things today. Those three things are these electric clouds that you're seeing here, these like blue, hazy, nasty, unrealistic clouds. If you've ever seen clouds like that, I want to go to where you've gone, because it looks like the end of Ghostbusters where the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's coming in. It's like Armageddon with marshmallows. Yeah, I don't understand why this happens in the tone mapping process. And I know that you can fix it with the smoothing highlights and the luminosity and the white point slider. A combination of the three, you can usually fix those. But what you do there is you sacrifice the detail that you're getting in the rest of the image. So I don't even worry about them anymore. I just process them like that, and I fix them later in Photoshop with one of my tips that I'm going to show you today. Also, open shadows. That's what the HDR process does. That's one of the drawbacks to it. I mean, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to open the shadows and make it so you can see different realms of highlight and shadow. But there's certain images where you want the detail and the look of an HDR image, but you don't want the shadows to be opened up. And this is one of those shots. I'm going to show you how to fix that too. And the last one is a highlight blowouts. So let's go ahead and combat these electric clouds first, because I'm sure that's what everyone wants to know is how to fix, because they show up all the time in HDR images, and I think that it's a sign of bad processing. That's my opinion. You can like them if you want, go right ahead, to each his own. But to me, it's a sign of bad processing. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to select the area that it's affecting. Those electric clouds are coming from the highlights. So I'm going to go to Select, go to Color Range, and go to Highlights. Now, once I have my highlights selected, I'm going to go to the Adjustment palette in the Layers panel. That's a tongue twister. And I'm going to select Curves. Now I'm going to set this curve to Color. And what you'll notice is that once I made the selection and selected the curves, the selection went away. But the selection didn't really go away. It made a mask of that area that I wanted to keep, which were the highlights. If you press Alt and click on that mask, you can see how that curves adjustment is being affected by the mask that was placed on it in that process. Now, what I don't like about this is how rigid that mask is, and it's not going to show a smooth transition if you do this next process. So what we're going to do is we're going to feather the edges of the mask by moving the feather over. Let's go anywhere between 3 and 5 is usually pretty good for this. Okay, now what we want to do is go to the curve itself and actually do an adjustment on that curve. So click anywhere on there, and your input is going to be 155 and your output is going to be 185. Now, did you just see those electric clouds pretty much go away? So here we have this nasty electric cloud. Here we don't. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Now you're seeing even more electric clouds in this one. You're thinking, yeah, this isn't going to work for this, but let's do it again. I'm going to do this a little bit faster. I'm going to go to Select, Color Range, Highlights, press OK, make a curves adjustment, change that to Color. Input's going to be 155, output is 185, and now let's change the feathering of that mask. I mean, I don't know, that's pretty brilliant. Electric clouds are gone, and it's that one quick step that you can do in Photoshop to get rid of electric clouds. Okay, so now let's go into combating open shadows. And what you're going to see here is with these three tips is that it's essentially, I'm going to do the same process. I want to affect the shadows now. So I'm going to go to Select, go to Color Range, go to Shadows, press OK. Same thing, I'm going to do a curves adjustment. Now the difference with this curves adjustment is that I want to only affect the luminosity of that curve. In the past, we were trying to affect the color, so we had to change that blend mode to color. This one we're going to want to change to luminosity, so go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and click luminosity. Now we're going to adjust this, the output, the input and output. We're going to put 1 point on here. The input is going to be 196. Output is going to be 168. 168. Okay, so we have the same problem here. We need to feather that shadow. It's looking pretty bad right now. So click on the curves adjustment and feather that shadow. I like to go pretty high with the shadow. I like to go anywhere between 25 and 30 with the shadow specifically, because it gives it that nice blend transition into the rest of the image. Now, and this is a perfect example. The A10 gun is probably the most important part of this image. So with that, with affecting the shadows, we've lost a lot of that detail that's going on there. So you can just click on that curves adjustment, go to your brush, and paint in with white to pull some of that area back. Actually, we're going to paint with black because you want to conceal that, what we've just done. Okay. So that's all about opening the shadows. Or closing the shadows, I should say. Here we're open shadows. It's a pretty flat HDR image. It looks pretty cool, but it's flat. Now we've got some more layers to it. We got a foreground, middle ground, background, clear and present because of the existence of a shadow. All right. Last but not least, highlight blowouts. Now you can easily fix this highlight blowout by going to the patch tool or something similar and selecting it and then moving it over and grabbing something else. But you still see that there's still some kind of blowout there. So we're just going to go back to the open. And I'm going to show you how to fix this the same way we did before. Now this is a highlight. The highlight is being affected right now. So we need to do the same thing. Go to select, go to color range, and go to highlights. Once you've selected those highlights, make a curves adjustment. You're noticing a trend here? I think there's a trend here. Now the same with this one. This is going to be a luminosity mask as well. So go ahead and change that to luminosity for the blend mode. And we're going to put 2 points on here. It's basically going to be a large S curve. The first point is going to be 72 and 53. And the second point is going to be 179 and 196. Okay, same thing. We've got a pretty exaggerated mask here. You know, it's really hitting. It's really rigid. So we need to feather that one again too. And we're going to feather this one anywhere between 8 and 10, 8 and 15 pixels. We'll just go with 10. Now you see what it's done. It's kind of like if you can't beat them, join them with this one. It didn't necessarily kill that highlight blowout, but what it did was it turned the surrounding area into an equal blowout, I guess you could say, to make them kind of match. You know, the clouds clouds do blow out. If you take a picture of clouds, they're gonna blow out. That's the way it is. You can never really fix it 100% without faking it. So if those clouds were already blown out when you were out there, you can still have that exaggeration of that blowout a little bit. But what we're doing here is just adding a cushion around that blowout to make it not so potent. And you can drop the opacity on this also and play with the blend mode too. Color didn't really help. Hue doesn't work. We can even go all the way. Let's just try normal and see what that does. Normal actually doesn't look too bad. There's luminosity and there's normal. They look pretty much the same. So that's how you combat the 3 things that I think personally are pet peeves to me with HDR processing. Do I look at anyone negatively for processing their photos with that stuff? Not necessarily. And there's some great people out there that do have a lot of electric clouds going on, and that's their style. They've grown it, they've owned it, they've honed it, and it's their style. To me, it's not necessarily my style, so I looked at a way to combat it. Again, this is www.everydayhdr.com. My name is Blake Rudis, and I'm available at everydayhdr@gmail.com if you have any questions or would like to request a tutorial. Have a great weekend. I hope this helped you. Please leave feedback. It helps me out. Thank you. Have a great one.